When we talk about an unscripted mindset or an improv mindset, right, they're sort of interchangeable. What we're really talking about is seeing the world through the lens of phrase I use is radical acceptance and contribution. So it's this notion of, and we can break it open for hours. We're not going to, but this notion, this notion of stepping out into the world with a willingness to be radically accepting, not only of one another as human beings with dignity, but also of what we stand to learn from each other.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond Empty Nest. I'm your host, Jody Silverman, speaker, mentor, and Chief Dare Officer at Moms Who Dare. Every Thursday, I'll share stories of midlife transformation, happiness tips, and dare you to see the opportunities waiting for you so that you can make this next chapter even better than the last. If you're ready to dare, I'm ready to dare with you. Let's get into today's episode. All right, everybody, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the fun world of midlife rediscovery, where the magic of improv reconnects you with your true self. Midlife is often marked by transitions, both expected and unexpected. But how can the principles of improv help us not only navigate change, but thrive amidst it? Is that a word? Amidst it. I think I said that right. Anyway, grab a pen and paper because that is exactly what my friend and my guest and personal improv teacher, Will Dennis, is here to share with us today. Will is the architect behind Unscripted Productions, a company leveraging the principles of improv comedy to apply to various aspects of life, work, relationships, parenting, mindset, and so much more. A veteran teacher, master improviser, certified coach, and proud husband and girl dad, Will brings a unique perspective driven by radical acceptance to all of life's moments. Will, I am so excited to welcome you to Beyond Empty Nest.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And it's so great to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Yeah, for those of you listening, you can see us both. You can join us here on video. Just go to the website and you'll find us there. We have a YouTube channel too. So if you're out there and you've only been listening, you've been missing seeing my guests. So head over there. But yeah, I'm excited about this topic because knowing you, taking improv classes directed under your amazing, teachership, it's changed me. It's helped me. It's enhanced my life. And it's been I think I shared after the very first time I took an improv class with you that it validated how I felt as a speaker. And I just knew that this was a topic that needs to come because I think when people hear improv, at least I know a lot of my Moms Who Dare moms, they get tense and get scared. Oh no. And improv is so much more than just, to use the word from Whose Line Is It Anyway, making shit up. It's so much more than that. And that's what you're going to share with us. And before we do, because one of the biggest problems of the audience, Will, is of our audience, which is really made up of a lot of women in midlife experiencing the transition of empty nest, maybe caring for our aging parents, and even like rediscovering who we want to be in retirement or in this next chapter, is finding their purpose. It's finding that purpose within that. They feel this loss and this sense of, well, I don't know who I am or even what I want to be or if I'm capable of being what I want to be. So I'm really looking forward to the topic of how improv and using it can reconnect us to our true self in midlife. And you're the perfect person to talk us through that. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. Look, improv, you said it best, it's so much more. It's so much more than making shit up. It is so much more than games and exercises. I would not venture to guess that anyone's going to rediscover or discover their purpose at a later chapter in life that you were born to be an improviser. That's typically not the case. It's not what necessarily happens, but it has been my experience that improv is an invaluable tool in helping us get to sort of refining our why, so to speak. So yeah, that's the gift that it is when applied to life. So,
well, I love that. And we're going to dive into that in a minute, but you have to tell everybody, because I did mention you're a girl dad. You're an amazing girl dad. But you are a professional. I mean, you're a teacher and a professional improviser. So how did you get there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't even know if I don't even know the answer, I don't think, but it's, you know what the answer is, and without getting too philosophical, is, and this is part of who I am, but it's part of improv too. I mean, I got to where I am by just continuing to pay attention, and to respond.
Mm.
Uh, so one of the things that I've been um, lucky enough to experience throughout my life is just a continuous process of reflection, paying attention, and awareness. And when I do that, I sometimes am too bold, but bold enough to respond to wherever life might be moving me. So it's kind of been my MO since college. I was first introduced to improv in high school,
Oh,
like many probably are, through just the drama program, right?
yeah.
And it was used as like a skill builder and things like that. And then later in life, for a brief chapter of my life, I worked as a professional actor, not necessarily improviser. And the theater that I was working at pretty frequently said to me like, "Oh, hey, we are always looking for new classes to offer people. Would you be interested in teaching anything?" I was like, "Yeah, I would be interested in teaching improv." It's how we ended up meeting Jody. It was one of those first classes at that theater.
Ah,
And just in teaching improv, I started to become about life for me. And so I'm teaching improv and I'm paying attention. And all of this stuff that I'm doing in improv and all this stuff that I'm teaching is holding a mirror up to myself. And I'm going, at the time I was, geez, I was either working downtown in education for a theater company, or I was fundraising at my alma mater. One of those two. Regardless, I paid attention to my soul, and it was restless. And it was clear to me that the gifts I was able to share through teaching improv also belonged in a more traditional classroom. So I found an amazing school that recognized the the benefit of having someone a little bit more outside the box, I guess.
yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse, to be sure. So I often say I'm not a good teacher, but I'm very good in a classroom.
Okay.
Terrible at lesson planning. I do not grade things fast enough. I don't believe in tests, all that. But improv made me very good at relationships. So I think that parlays into an effective classroom experience for students. So yeah, I mean that's how I got here. I took a long circuitous route and I'm still on that route and it turns every day. But as far as how I got here, the simple answer without a full timeline is by always paying attention and then responding to whatever the world might be trying to tell me.
I love that. I love that. My sister-in-law, who is no longer with us, she was always about pay attention. Pay attention to what people do, what people say. They will show you who they are. They will show you where you want to go. The world will show you where you want to be, where you don't want to be. She was all about paying attention. And so you just like triggered that memory for me.
Yeah, it's also I mean, perhaps surprisingly, I don't know. The subject that I teach is theology. I teach world religions and discernment. And so there's your paying attention as far as discernment goes. But it's the world religion. There's so much to be gleaned from all of those, regardless of whatever anyone's individual belief system is, that it forces you into that. So
Yeah.
there's a quick plug for anyone who wants to do some reading around awareness. He's a Jesuit priest who borrows a ton from Buddhism called Anthony DeMeo, but he has a whole spirituality of awareness and the idea of waking up to the world.
Oh,
And
wow.
that influenced me big time as a young person when I was in college. And I think it's probably shaped my perspective and my approach to improv to this day.
Oh, I like that. I'll remember to get that again for you after the show.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
please
It's
do.
such an easy read.
Please do. Please do. Awareness. And that's a whole other topic because awareness
Yeah.
I want to tell you, I think we have at this point with your episode, I'm looking at my notes right now. Your episode 57. We've had
Nice.
57 episodes, and I think almost every single one of them, the topic of self-awareness and just awareness has come up. So we're going to dive into a little, I know it's going to come up again, but you talk about, so the name of your company is Unscripted Productions, and you talk about having an unscripted mindset. in life. So, and applying an unscripted mindset to life. And I want everybody here who's listening have a pen and paper. And I know that my audience is looking at this as, okay, what's my purpose? What's my mission? I want to have more fun. Think of it in the lens of, okay, self-discovery and self-awareness. What do you mean by an unscripted mindset? Because I love that
Yes.
term.
Oh, thanks. So when we talk about an unscripted mindset or an improv mindset, right, they're sort of interchangeable. What we're really talking about is seeing the world through the lens of phrase I use is radical acceptance and contribution. So it's this notion of, and we can break it open for hours. We're not going to, but this notion, this notion of stepping out into the world with a willingness to be radically accepting, not only of one another as human beings with dignity, but also of what we stand to learn from each other, and the ideas. And this notion, when you compare that radical acceptance with contribution, sometimes the way we talk about it is believing so much in the potential brilliance of another human being that you can't help but participate in it, right? So, like, you're so enamored and confident and optimistic even about somebody else's brilliance that your initial instinct as a human is to go, I need to participate in this. I need to contribute something to this so that together we can both get to whatever that level of brilliance is. And really everything in an unscripted mindset stems from that notion, right? So life is unscripted. There's nothing planned about life. Even if you make the plans, they're going to go awry. So much of it is bringing that level of acceptance and contribution or participation, but then also understanding that, even back to awareness, right? Already came up again. Understanding that our job as human beings is to respond, right? It's to respond, and we can take control of our response. We can't necessarily take control of the things that happen to us.
Yep.
So that's where we put the energy. So a lot of people, even as you were hinting at earlier, Jody, like improv makes people nervous. And if it were just about making people laugh and doing things on the spot, it would make me nervous too. I would want to throw up, right? I would
Right.
I would get the cold sweat and dig a hole somewhere. But it's not about that. When we talk about it, it's really just what is your response to the world? And improv shrinks the world down as small as possible and puts it inside of a structure so that it just becomes, when you're playing, if you will, you're just responding to the imaginary world with the imaginary circumstances that you've created with someone else. But that's what it's all about. So as far as an
Yeah.
unscripted mindset is be radically accepting and then willing to respond to whatever the world is offering you. There's a great quote. I'm not going to attribute it because I don't know who it's from, but somebody can Google it as you're listening to this and then email me the attribution so I don't keep screwing it up. But life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that. I really ascribe to that notion of we're in control of that. And if we make that 90%
Right.
of the pie chart, then we're in good shape right there.
I love that. I love that. So radical acceptance and contribution and just being ready to respond. And I love how you really do say, because I'm of the firm belief, if it's to be, it's up to me. And that goes right to like how you respond is 100% up to you and in your control. And to pause and maybe, understand the ramifications of a response. But I love the part of improv that I love is like it's so this radical acceptance and contribution is the yes and part of
Yeah.
improv.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just explaining this to my family. Like, what does this even mean when I hear you say, are you a yes and person or a yes but person? Because I talk about that. I did an episode on that. And it's accepting, it can change your life if that's all you walk away learning from this conversation is acceptance and contribution and yes and because and especially since where we came off in the last 4 or 5 years and where we are headed, it's up to us to do that. It's up to us to hold the space for that. And if you can accept that first part of an unscripted mindset as it relates to women in midlife and accepting that your kids are going to grow up and leave the house and accepting that your parents are aging accepting that, it might be retirement time for you to leave that career, and just accepting that, and then allowing.
Yeah, we talk about it too in terms of given circumstances, right? You cannot change, or it's difficult to change your given circumstances.
Yeah.
So you can either expel all of your energy in trying to change a given circumstance to make it fit your idea of how the world should be, or you can save all of that energy and just start from the place of what the given circumstances are and respond from there. So, yeah, whether it's rediscovering who you are or attempting to, or it's empty nesting, or it is taking care of parents, or it's career change, it's retirement, it's wherever you are in this very uncomfortable, potentially, period of your life. But remember, like, in that discomfort is where all of our growth happens anyway.
Yeah.
It's why we call it growing pains. It's why it's like every time we're uncomfortable, it means there's some serious growing happening. And then we end up on the other side of that. And it's only in hindsight or reflection that we're able to go, oh, that's what all that discomfort was.
Yeah.
So,
It's true.
yeah,
Yep.
recognizing whatever your given circumstances are and then responding to them.
Yeah. I love that. And then some of those are expected moments, but you talk about that to reconnect to your true self, like applying the unscripted mindset is one way of doing that. You also talk about embracing the unexpected moments, which is what we were really just talking about. Some of them are expected. We expect that we're going to raise our kids to go off into the world, whether they go to college or whether they get a new apartment and go out into the work world, or they go into the armed services, whatever it is. Again, I don't know why we're all so surprised when it happens, but we are. You're way off, but embracing the unexpected moments of life as well.
Yeah, it's and like that's uh, oftentimes that's where the potential joy lies, right? So like it is again back to the notion you can script whatever you want. Things are going to change. Things are going to be unexpected. The way we talk about it in improv is, mistakes are fumbles and fumbles are opportunities, and it's this notion that in the real world we are conditioned to judge ourselves by our mistakes. Man, as parents, right?
Oh,
I was listening to a podcast, and it's like even attempting to be a perfect parent is a mistake in and of itself because you can never live up to it. And then you beat yourself up because you're making these mistakes. But that's neither here nor there. But
no, but it's true.
nonetheless, yeah, it really is. But it's the reframing, right? Reframing is so important. So to be able to reframe a mistake as a fumble first and then reframe that fumble as an opportunity. And like this is something that I've come to later that I didn't used to sort of talk about in the context of improv is really a lot of times in improv, your mistake, if you will, or your fumble when you're on a team is going to turn into somebody else's opportunity, not yours.
Huh.
But, but if you've created an environment where you have bought into yes and you've bought into some of the other principles of improv, then even someone else's opportunity is yours merely by association. So that
Yeah.
if you're truly a team, then anyone's opportunity is everyone's opportunity. So, I mean, yeah, let's look at this notion of relationships or parenting or, hitting a point in your life where something unexpected occurs. If we're able to reframe that as a fumble and understand that there's an opportunity to be gained from it, clearly it's not just going to be your opportunity as a parent. It's going to be the entire family's opportunity or the entire unit or the entire team's opportunity as a result of what we're able to do. So, yeah, and
Yeah.
this is one of my favorites in improv because almost every time in the context of whether it's a class or a performance or whatever, those moments where the molecules in the room change, right? Whether it is just an explosion of laughter or everyone senses that something is going to miss and is waiting to see what will happen in response. Those moments that people will remember for the rest of their lives, whether they're in a seat watching or participating, are completely unexpected and the result of a quote unquote mistake.
Yeah.
And they turn into gold instantly. And like everyone, this is what I love about it too, is like everyone in that room becomes instantly aware that something is happening authentically for the first and last time it will ever happen. So it completely forces us into being 100% present in a moment. And it's a shared experience. So you are present in a shared experience.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's what life is all about at the end of the day, is being 100% present to shared experiences.
Oh my God. I can see. This is, dude. Does anybody listening understand why I absolutely just love Will Dennis? Like I do, I do. But because we also share, and I never realized that the way I view life was from an unscripted mindset,
Mhm.
was under the some of the tenets of improv. I learned a little more, but I did naturally. I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know that's what improv was. My first time sitting in the theater with you for our class, and you going through what improv was, I was like, I'm like, oh my God, this is my personal growth and development. This is my team building. This is where I want to be. And I love it because embracing the unexpected moments is not easy. Nothing is easy. And I like to acknowledge that, because then we move right through it. Because I tell people, what makes my community different, my Moms Who Dare Facebook group for empty nesters, different than a lot of other empty nest groups out there. And this is not a diss or a judgment. My whole goal of creating my community was we were going to honor the way we felt, and we're going to figure out what the gift is in that mess, what the gift is in those messy emotions, because there's something else waiting for us, just like there's something waiting for our children. I always say, like, let's take the same route. Let's do a parallel journey to our children. We raise them to go out in the world, meet new people, brave new experience, discover who they want to be. We're going to do that same thing in this chapter. And that's why I just love improv as a learning tool. And I love how you said it was a tool to get us there, because it just frames it in such a really positive way. And it's life. It's not toxic positivity. It's a way to shift your perspective and see something as a gift instead of as a, oh crap. Once you say, oh crap, feel the oh crap, and then move into the gift immediately after that.
Yeah, and you have to. It's so important to let yourself feel the old crap, right? And I
Yeah.
love that you yes and your group, right? It's like, all right,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
honor this first, and then we'll figure out where
Yeah.
the beauty is in this mess. But and I'm glad you brought up toxic positivity. So often I find myself now, even not even saying yes and. You heard me at the beginning of this. Like I didn't even say yes, and I said radical acceptance and contribution,
Yep.
because it's important to make the distinction, because yes and can easily be turned into toxic positivity
Yes.
without sort of understanding the nuance of it, and it can be used against people. So like I've been very cautious about making sure it doesn't turn into that, because a lot of people might sit here and listen and go, oh great, now what, I'm supposed to say yes to everything? Everyone's telling me to set boundaries. Like that's the big buzz item of 2024, is
Yeah.
set your boundaries. Feel free to say no to stuff. Protect yourself by saying no. And those are not mutually exclusive. Like those two things can live together.
It's true.
And it's why the acceptance is the mindset, or the willingness to live in somebody else's space to understand them.
Yeah.
It's not, you have to say yes to this task and do even more and burn yourself out.
Right. Right. No, no, I get it. Anything to the extreme could turn into
Yeah. Oh no,
something
absolutely.
not good. Anything to the and that we have a tendency, especially if you're somebody who really sees the world as black and white, you can get caught up in the whole God, I can't ever say but again. I mean, I use the word but. Use the
Yeah,
word but.
right.
I hear it when I say it, though. I am conscious of it. So the other part, and we kind of skipped over this because you said something about not judging yourself. Creating a judgment-free zone in your mind is also important as well. Well, before we get into that, I'm going to go back to something I just want to share. So I have a really close friend who found herself having to embrace one of those unexpected moments of early retirement, which she had never expected to happen. And I can feel and maybe sense some gifts that are waiting for her, beyond that. And I see she's coming that way too. But when an unexpected moment hits, it is okay to sit in it and feel everything you want to feel. And yet I do love how you say embrace it, because Yeah, however you say it. My step grandmother, my Nana Brown used to say, "Never be sorry for no. When one door opens, another closes." That, however you want to frame it, there are opportunities waiting beyond the setbacks.
Yeah. And you want to hear something that will really maybe explode your brain?
Yeah, and then we'll get into the judgment thing, letting yourself off. Okay.
Yeah. Is the most important part of yes and is the comma between the two words.
Mm.
And it's the pause, right? So not to think of it as this immediate thing that it's like, all right, I've said yes, I've honored it, and now I have to move on. It's no, there's a comma there, and you decide how long that pause exists. It is not an expectation of you get 30 seconds to do this, which honors somebody's process, which honors somebody's healing, which honors whatever that person is going through at a pace that makes sense for them. And
Yeah.
you can live in that comma. Uh and like then eventually that pause ends and you hit your end, so to speak.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
for
good one.
sure. For
I like
sure.
that. I like the pause. I like that pause. You're making me think of something totally off topic, but this is improv. We're just going with it. So I was recently at a funeral, and I don't know if you ever heard, I don't know if it's considered a poem, but it's called The Dash. So
No,
I'm gonna try and
no.
articulate this as best I can. But you have the date on the tombstone, you have the date the person was born, a dash, and then the date they returned. What's not important is either of those sides of that. What's important is the dash. How did you live your dash?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so you made me think of that because the comma is the pause. The comma is when you get to pause, sit with it, and decide how you're gonna proceed, and that's living your dash.
Yeah, that's in the dash right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Google that because it is a poem. I've heard it read at funerals before.
All right, nice.
I knew like that. All right, so let's talk about how do you create a judgment-free zone? I mean, you already shared how. Well, everything we've talked about is allowing yourself, but I want to talk about it because we so human beings are so full of judgment for themselves and others, and I will dare to say that my audience, full of moms and women experiencing so much with their aging parents, with letting their children go, with whether they're divorced or widowed. There's so much judgment self judgment that we put on ourselves. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's so much in here, right? For me, it's the number one roadblock to creativity is self-judgment. So I often talk about, I think there's a number of ways to start working towards mitigating the problem of self-judgment. In improv, we talk about, and life, obviously, by now, I consider the two synonymous.
yeah,
So we talk about making your team look good first. So this is something that really comes second nature to parents, though there's probably an entire case study in here somewhere,
yeah,
is it's focused out and it feels antithetical to a certain extent. But the way I talk about it is if I'm on a team and for 2 hours, whether it's a performance, whether it's a rehearsal, whether it's a class, all of my energy is spent making my team look good, right? Doing whatever I need to do to have each of those individuals make them look like absolute rock stars. Two things are going to happen. One, I don't have the energy or the time to think about myself. And when I think about myself, I'm usually judging myself. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm 5'5". I'm thinking about bushy eyebrows. I'm thinking about I haven't had a haircut in way over 6 weeks. I'm thinking about, any weight fluctuation. I'm thinking about bad posture. I'm thinking about all of this stuff. I'm thinking about all the stuff I haven't done, right? All my obligations. I'm thinking about who I'm letting down. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And then if anyone out there is like me, the more I think about those things, the more they consume me, the more it moves me into total inaction. Right.
mhm, yeah,
So if I focus outward, then I'm not that goes away, at least for 2 hours, right? I'm not pretending that like this is some magic pill. It's like, hey, just go take care of everyone else, because then you're not taking care of yourself either. But for short bursts of time, it allows you to step outside of yourself. And when you step outside of yourself, you just might be open to the possibility that there's room for you to start loving yourself in there because of what you've done for the other people around you.
Mm.
So that's the main thing that it will do is it'll get you out of your own head.
Yeah.
The other thing, the other thing that happens is you just built a team of whatever, 5, 6 people who are all making you look like a rock star, right?
Right.
Their number one job now is to take care of you. So as they take care of you, you're going to start seeing things about yourself that maybe you didn't even know existed before. And these are things that are going to be celebrated outside of yourself.
Mm.
So that's the whole thing. Look, it's not unlike journaling, which feels so weird because it's an outlet. You're taking whatever is inside of you and you're getting it out. You're just getting it out in a way that is making others look good while you're receiving the celebration of those around you, recognizing the very things that make you an amazing person, not an insecure person.
I love
So,
that.
yeah, that's the
You know,
biggest thing from improv as far as getting out of that
yeah,
self-judgment mode.
I love that. And you're making, and again, you're triggering my thought for, the mom out there. And, this episode, it's May. I mean, we're getting the high school graduation season, the college graduation season. There's so much emotion. It's so emotionally charged out there with sadness and fear and excitement and happiness and joy. And, you know, in, s- I always like to flip the perspective. You raise your kids to go out and into the world, and instead of getting caught in the judgment of, oh, I have nothing, I'm nothing without my kids, or maybe I didn't do this. Maybe just look at them, take a step out and look at them and say, oh my God, look what I did. Look what I did. I mean, it ain't easy being a mom and dad these days. It's not easy being a parent, but look what you raised. And as they walk, with their diploma in their hand and their cap and gown, just not what you're losing. Look at what you did and look at what they're becoming, you know?
And are they proud of themselves? Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like if you get to see them on that day and they are proud of themselves, then you've done your job as a
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
When we first had our oldest, I don't know if I read it somewhere or somebody said it to me, but it's another reframing, which like I'm all over lately, is instead of saying to your child, I'm so proud of you, say, you should be really proud of yourself. And it starts building that. Talk about you're starting early at
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
the antidote to self-judgment there.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny because I could very, very much allow myself to go nosedive into. I didn't have any of these resources. I knew nothing about personal growth when I was a mom. I mean, my daughter's 29, my son is 26. I did not know there was no Facebook. There
Yeah.
wasn't there, there were no there's social media groups like this. I never knew what an affirmation was. I didn't nothing. There weren't boxes of cards with question prompts so you could sit around the dinner table, and I didn't know any of that. And I love that. I love that. And I could very much do a number on myself and say, God, I wish I had done that. I would have been a better mom. Maybe my daughter with this, maybe my son with that. But no, I come back. I'm like, I did the best I could with what I knew. My kids are great. They're good. And now I get to do all that fun affirmation stuff with my nieces, my nephews, and my grandkids. So,
Yeah,
but it's
right.
easy. So don't go there. We all do the best we can with what we have. You have to go back to what you said at the beginning with this radical acceptance and contribution and, embracing change, embracing the unexpected moments of life so that you can move forward to step into who you are now because you've changed as well.
Yeah, it's look, it's amazing to think. And again, I got a 4 and 2-year-old, so I'm on the other end
Yeah,
of
I
this
know.
process. But uh I'm prepping, right? I'm going through training camp here. But it's amazing to think from the minute a your firstborn arrives in the world, everything that is their first is also your first.
Mhm.
And like we don't give ourselves credit for that as parents. We don't allow ourselves to go, oh yeah, this is my first time doing this. And the expectation for anyone's first time doing anything else would be filled with grace, forgiveness, gentleness, and opportunity. but for whatever reason, we don't extend it to ourselves because we think the expectation is perfection, and the expectation is not perfection. The expectation is humanity, right?
I
And
love
that is
that.
the broken, flawed thing on purpose.
Yeah. I
So
love that.
to give ourselves a little bit of credit there.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to wrap this up before we go into a dare. I'm giving you a little time to come up with your dare. But yeah, I mean, the midlife chapter of life is it can be a time of being, doing, reinventing, sticking with what works. But I love what you just said. It first and foremost, it has to be about giving yourself grace and be gentle with yourself and forgive yourself and be gentle and give yourself grace as you embark on a journey of adopting the unscripted mindset and discovering what's waiting for you now. And I love that. It all came together there. I love that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw one more thing in, if you don't mind.
One more thing, and
I'm
then you get to drop them with a dare.
all right. Fair enough. I'm stealing this from Alan Alda.
I
Uh,
love him.
who, yeah, and he's like an improv king. He does amazing work. If anyone wants to look at it, of using improv to teach, doctors and scientists how to communicate with people who don't understand that world. Anyway, in one of his books, I'm gonna forget which one it is, talks about the importance of threshold moments or moments in a doorway. So, for those of you out here who are getting ready to sort of watch proudly as your child graduates, or you're in a moment where you might be walking out of your place of work for the last time, right? Whether it's a literal or metaphorical doorway, it's a fantastic theory that the most important things that are ever said or that ever happen in a doorway.
Mm,
And think about it. Think about how many times you walk into someone else's space and you buy time with a conversation, right? You're building up the courage to say whatever it is you need to say.
yeah.
And it isn't until you turn to leave and then turn back in the doorway that the heart of what you wanted to say or the thesis comes out. So take advantage of those doorway moments and give yourself the opportunity to experience whatever's happening between this side of the door and the other side of the door.
God, I love that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Oh,
He's
oh my
amazing.
God, that was good. That could be a dare in itself. But do you have a different dare you wanted to leave, or?
Yeah. So this dare I'm going to offer you, this is sort of like, this is an amalgam of the various things that make up the person who is Will. So here's my dare, and just so you know, I'm challenging myself to the same dare. So
Okay.
it's somebody who teaches discernment and is sort of keen on spirituality of all kinds. One of the things I've been trying to do is I do a guided meditation that is called an examen, taken from the Jesuits, St. Ignatius's order. And what it is it's just a guided meditation that looks back on either a day, a week, whatever, and it looks at various moments in the week. What I'm trying to do is do a not only daily, but I'm breaking my day into quarters.
Ooh,
So I've got my morning, my early morning, my late morning, my afternoon, and my evening. Those are the quarters of my day, usually chunks out to like a 4 hour quarter, right? And at the end of each of those, I try to do what I call mini examine. So my specific challenge for you is at the end of every 4 hour period, five, whatever makes sense for you, stop, disconnect, take 5 minutes, and three simple questions.
okay. I love that.
Three simple questions. Looking back on my last 4 hours, what moment was a yes and moment? What moment was a no moment? And what do I need for my next 4 hours? And then restart.
I'm like drop a mic moment there. That was me dropping a pen. I love that dare.
Yeah. So it's, something we didn't talk about necessarily, but reflection is so important to me in anything I'm doing, but also in improv. You have to know yourself first before
Okay.
you can really engage in that stuff. So I try to build meditation into, or a style of reflection or meditation into whether it's a course, whether it's improv, whether it's my life, I try to build it into as many things as possible.
All right. Well, there you have your dare. Every 4 hours, you're going to take a pause and you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. What was in the last 4 hours, the past 4 hours, reflect back. What was a yes and moment? What was a no moment? And what do you need for your next 4 hours?
Yep.
All right. We are going to wrap this up. Also, I just have to tell everybody that in the show notes below is everywhere you can connect with Will. And there's also a special, there's a link to your Unscripted Mindset self-guided program, right? It's a self-guided coaching program because you do coaching, you teach improv, you do all that.
Yeah. So, we obviously have one-on-one coaching, et cetera, things like that. But we have a self-paced course. So it's an online course that you can walk through, it's the Unscripted Mindset. It's kind of what we've been talking about. It's leveraging the ideas of improv and then applying them to your life. And each of those has a sort of classroom component, right? Video component, a game or exercise from improv that you can do in your own life to accentuate that, and then a 10-minute guided meditation on whatever theme of that module. So it's 5 modules long, self-paced. You can do it whenever all in one day or over the course of a year, whatever works for you.
Oh, I love that. And Will has given you, if you use, it's in the show notes below, but if you use the code DAREON, you can get 10% off the course. So grab it. That sounds like a course that is a lifelong learning tool you can always go back to. So Will, thank you. Thanks.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Love it. Now you know it. Now everyone knows what I'm going to say. What was your takeaway? There were too many to cheat. You're going to have to rewind and listen again. But my goal when I started this show was that every listener took one tool, one strategy, one tip, one aha moment from every single episode. And if you can do that, which I know they're there, your life can change. You have the power to make change with the tools and strategies that all my guests offer to you. So what was it from this episode? Let me know, let Will know, leave a review on Apple Podcasts if that's where you listen to it. Shoot me a message. I'll make sure Will gets your kind words if you tell me something about him. And don't forget that next week, there'll be another brand new episode of Beyond Empty Nest. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the audience. And as I always say, dare on.
Dare on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond Empty Nest. Have you heard of the Double Dares? Well, we're a community of moms and midlife women blending virtual and in-person interactions for connection, support, and exciting experiences. And as we navigate the empty nest and other midlife transitions, having that go-to safe space and other women to lean on is a must. Ladies, this is not the chapter to do it alone. If you've been seeking connection and have a desire to figure out who you are and what your purpose is now, then Moms Who Double Dare is the perfect fit for you. Only through the link in our show notes below can you explore and enjoy the first month at half off. Plus, with no contracts, there's 0 risk involved. Join us today and get started on your journey of self-discovery, surrounded by new friends who understand and get you. If you're ready to dare on, I'm here to lead the way. Let's embark on this exciting journey together. Click the link below, and as I always say, dare on.